For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who want it until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
Violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the insurrection. I'm Michael Lauber, and today I'm joined by Jeff Cruaire. How are you doing this morning, Jeff?
Hey, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, thank you for being here. And it's been a little while since you've been on. Since you could kind of give our audience a little background on who you are, and then, man, we've got a lot to cover this morning.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So my background is with the Republican Party, Louisiana, the former executive director there. I got into talk radio in '99 and been on the air now 26 years. Started a TV show the next year. And we do here in New Orleans a comedy show called Politics with a Punch once every 2 months to sort of lighten the mood a little bit. But I write a lot of columns, and I've written a book, and working on my second one. And all that is at my website, and folks can check it out at cruaire.net, CROUERE.net.
That's awesome. And yes, your columns over on Town Hall are some of my favorites. Usually I would have pulled one of them this morning to discuss, but a little behind. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties getting started this morning. I got a couple of videos for you guys and had a difficulty with one of them. So we got a little bit of a late start. But we might as well jump right into it because we've got breaking news. I mean, it's the Summer of Love 2.0 riot season, whatever you want to call it. It's definitely upon us. And we now know at least some of the people behind funding it. So here's the guy. Neville Singham is funding the riots. And Anna Paulina Luna kind of broke this story last night. I'm going to actually just go ahead and go to this. This is a video that she put up, and then we'll respond.
Just found a really great deep dive here from the Data Republican on X. So who is behind all these crazy riots in LA and that will be across the nation? Just like, remember, in the Summer of Love with BLM, remember who's organizing all that stuff? With this specifically is being funded by an individual by the name of Neville Singham, who actually made his money by pushing communist Chinese propaganda, became a billionaire doing it. He's now funding, and the guy behind all of these protests was also behind and tied to the protests at Columbia University, pushing all of that BS, if you don't remember. And then also, too, if you actually look at the social organization that's putting out these flyers, it's the Party for Socialism and Liberation, which is, and I kid you not, the actual Communist Party. So they're using Hispanics, they're using illegal immigrants, they're trying to hype people up thinking that they care, but they don't care. They would stop illegal immigration. Obama deported people. Why all of a sudden now? It's political.
Yeah. I mean, it's no surprise. It's all connected. The same people funding the all these anti-Semitic, anti-Jew protests on campus. The same people that were the inspiration for the this guy that recently tossed Molotov cocktail bombs over in Colorado, or the shooter in D.C. It's all connected. It's all the same people funding this. Again, they don't care about this cause in any more than they do any of the others. They just want violence. They want chaos in the streets, and they've got billionaires to fund it. These rent-a-rioters that are out there looting and destroying Los Angeles, and it's getting ready to spread like a cancer across the entire country.
Mike, it reminds me of the Summer of Love. We had riots that spread all over the country in the aftermath of the death of George Floyd, which was a false narrative. And they were, of course, doing that to harm President Trump's reelection and create chaos. And of course, they did that. And I think President Trump learned a lesson from that he needs to act forcefully, quickly, more decisively. And he's doing that now. I don't understand why we can't arrest the people that are facilitating these riots, dropping off the pallets of bricks, giving the rioters supplies that they need to create their mayhem. I mean, those people are involved in law breaking. So I don't understand why we can't bring them to justice.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll see a real effort to do so this time. But yeah, as you mentioned, you and I talked last night about the riot seeds that somebody planted in L.A. Not on Saturday. I think it was Sunday they started showing up, the pallets of bricks. We're seeing the same thing in other areas now where they're planning on this weekend launching more of these. Tonight in Chicago, they're planning on blocking traffic throughout the city on the major highways to bring attention to the kidnapping of citizens in Chicago. So, I mean, this is all orchestrated. I mean, luckily the American people are not buying it, but the media is doing everything they can try to cast it a different way.
They're blaming Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, these ICE agents are just doing their job. And these are people, again, we got to remind everyone, they're people that are here illegally. Okay. They need to be deported. They need to be apprehended, deported. A lot of them are vicious criminals. And these folks that are supporting that are supporting criminals. Yeah. And that's what the Democrats do, Mike. That's their favorite constituency, criminals.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. And I mean, that's gotten worse, not better over the last few years. I think that's, I'm not sure if it's a symptom of TDS or just a symptom of being a leftist. But it appears to have accelerated. And yeah, we've got the usual suspects involved funding these operations over and over again. Nothing's done. When we were discussing the pallets of bricks, I know that in, I'm sorry, I don't remember if it was Portland or Seattle, where they did actually do some investigation into this during or after the Summer of Love. They couldn't find anybody to charge because they were using what do you call it? The throwaway credit cards, the ones you get at like the dollar store or whatever, preloaded Visas. They were using those, so there was no name connected with them. They couldn't figure out who was actually behind it. When they go to the companies, they're just delivering what was paid for. They're delivering, a pallet of bricks, assuming that it's for a construction project somewhere. And a lot of times you're leaving them on the sidewalk in a city. Isn't that unusual if that's what they're being used for? But yeah, nobody's held accountable. I know there's another guy they're trying to find right now that last night was seen handing out these expensive face masks to rioters that I guess are like a chemical shield that they're over $100 a pop. And so they're very clearly funded. This is not organic like the media is trying to pretend it is. Well, to your point, once again, these people trying to hold the country hostage, saying, oh, yeah, if big mean Donald Trump wasn't out there enforcing the law, throwing the criminals out of the country, then they wouldn't be forced to riot in the streets and wave the Mexican flag. It's not a good look.
No. And even Harry Enton on CNN was sharing some poll numbers, which showed the Democrats are doing horribly with the polls. And this is Donald Trump's strongest issue. Immigration and border enforcement, what they're doing right now, the American people support. So once again, the Democrats are on the wrong side. I mean, they were going down and having margaritas with a wife beater, a human trafficker, a gang member, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and now they're supporting people that are rapists and murderers and people that are in this country illegally. So the Democrats are showing who they support, and they are also claiming that they're peaceful. Now, Mike, I've been looking at a lot of the images of these riots. They're burning cars. They're hurling rocks at police. They don't look peaceful to me.
No, they're never peaceful. It's always just how the media wants to portray it. We've got a new, we'll talk about this later, but we've got a new fiery but mostly peaceful protest segment. I've got the Harry Enton clip too coming up because this is just completely blowing up in their face. But we're learning other interesting things as this continues to develop. Like this, we've got Mexico provides legal aid to illegal immigrants arrested by ICE in Los Angeles. So the Mexican government is funding their legal defense. We talked about yesterday that Claudia Sheinbaum, president of Mexico, is out there saying, oh, these are good people. They deserve to be there. But in reality, she just wants the remittance back. That was the real point of her speech, is Trump is threatening to put a tax on remittance. It's in the big, beautiful bill. And she's freaking out because that's one of Mexico's main sources of revenue. Not avocados. I guess their main exports now are just crushing poverty, illegal drugs, and their main import is money back from their own illegal citizens working illegally in foreign countries.
Which is why they don't want to do anything about illegal immigration, because
Bingo.
It's a money maker for them. They have their people here, they send their money back, and it's a big boon to their economy. So we need to shut down not only the flow of illegal immigrants in our country, but the money going back to their country. And I think this tax on these remittances is a good first step.
Yes.
And much more needs to be done. I mean, we're being, again, and what President Trump is very good at is pointing out how we're being taken advantage of, whether it be trade, but also in this situation with Mexico. And we've got to look at every aspect of that relationship, like the cartels. I mean, we could shut down those cartels if we wanted. And Mexico is doing pretty much nothing because I think they're afraid of the cartels. I think our military could be pretty effective in ending the business of the cartels, and that should be something we look at.
Yeah, the level of corruption in Mexico is just obscene. And it's bad getting worse all the time. Their government is essentially owned by the cartels. I wish I'd thought about this earlier. I wrote a giant paper on this while I was in college. It was like a 40-page paper on Mexico, the corruption and the cartels. And at the time, I can't remember if remittance made up for 20 or 30% of their country's GDP. I wish I had that in front of me right now, but I'm sure it's even worse now. In their last election cycle, they had over 30 politicians murdered that threatened to crack down on the cartels and cartel activity. Since their elections, there have been I don't remember if it's 5 or 6 more murders, all again related to them even mentioning cracking down on the cartels. The country is owned, and the only way it's going to stop is I think if the U.S. military does get involved, is drone these fools. And I think these riots are bringing us closer and closer to that being the next step, the only logical move that we can make.
Right. I mean, look at who's rioting. These are people waving the Mexican flag. I mean, look at what Mexico is doing. They're helping the rioters, helping the illegals, protecting the drug cartel, complaining about attacks on remittances. We need to do what's in the best interest of our country. The
Bingo.
good thing is, Mike, the president has pretty much shut down the border, so we don't have the influx of 20 million like we did during Biden. So that flow has been dramatically reduced. Now we got to get rid of all the criminal elements and all the illegals that are here that have been allowed in over the past few years. And that's where these people are, raising all this hell about, because they don't want these illegals to leave. The Democrats need them for their politics. They want them here to cause trouble, and they don't want us to be following the law. So we can't back down on this. We can't back down.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like if your house is infested with roaches or bees or whatever else, you don't just let the problem fester because it's been there a while. You do something to correct it, or eventually they take over and they drive you out of your own house. It's the same with any other invaders, whether it's to a country, to home, or anything else. We also have a report. LA rioters now distributing American flags after realizing horrible optics of waving foreign flags for days. And again, that's the iconic picture everybody's seen, is the guy waving the Mexican flag over his head while there's cars on fire around him. I mean, every media outlet was carrying that Saturday night and Sunday morning. All of us saw it. And yeah, it is. But it's the reality. That was the organic part. These were Mexicans or first generation Americans from illegal parents. And their goal, they really do want to claim the American Southwest, reclaim that for Mexico. They think somehow we stole it. Just like, the Native Americans, they say stolen land all the time. Well, it's not stolen land. It's conquered land. You may not like that, but that's the reality of the situation. We went to war with Mexico. millennia, or not millennia, over 100 years ago, and we won. Things have consequences. This is our country now, whether you like it or not.
I would just like to encourage all these illegals that are here waving the Mexican flag. If they love Mexico so much, just go back to Mexico.
Yeah, make Mexico great again.
Yeah, let's see how that's going to work out for you. I mean, are you going to get all these benefits in Mexico? I mean, these illegals come here and they get rich and they get all these benefits. That's what we're trying to crack down on and end. And of course, they're complaining. They're upset. But they need to get out of here. We need to round all these people up. They're criminals. They're here illegally. They need to go back to their home country.
Agreed. And yeah, I'd love to see them actually go back and make a real effort to make Mexico great again. If they need some assistance from the U.S. military to extricate the cartels, then you know what? I'd be okay with that because they're killing American citizens at record rates with fentanyl. We're seeing more and more violence here within our borders as Tren de la Agua and others take over apartment buildings, extort people for cash, and just in general are murdering and harming American citizens. So you know what? We'll help deal with the problem. Since we're the incentive for the drug trade, we're the buyers, I think we can help them eliminate the cartels, and then everybody wins. Then they can go back to Mexico, get rid of their corrupt politicians, and make Mexico great again, too. Everybody wins.
Right. And part of making America great again is following through on what President Trump wants to do. And that's what the Democrats are just so upset about. They don't want, and that's the thing. They don't want to make America great again. They seem to be invested in chaos. And, you know, from what I've seen watching Maxine Waters and Gavin Newsom and all these politicians, Karen Bass, who, by the way, spent years training in communist Cuba. I mean, she is a communist. Yeah. So, I mean, they don't want this country to be a country of law and order, a country where we, just give our benefits to citizens. They want to be overrun with illegals. They want to have the chaos that we now have. So we've got a difference of opinion, a definite difference in vision for the country. And I think they're on the losing side, Mike, big time.
Yeah, I agree. And I think they know it at some level because they're trying to figure out how to position themselves right now. But, you know, they've made this bet. They're going to stick with their intersectionality victim groups. And we're going to see them continue to support illegal alien invaders over U.S. citizens because they've got nothing else left. If they flip now, the little bit of a base, they've still got that 20 to 30% of people that need to be on psychiatric medication that continue to vote for Democrats. If they make any kind of reversal, those people will flee. When really, reality, we should just make mental institutions great again and solve this problem. All right, guys, we got to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back with more.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the next generation of energy drinks, Rev 7. It has no sugar and no caffeine. Instead, Rev 7 uses Go BHB. Go BHB is one of the body's primary ketones, and it provides the most efficient and clean fuel that your body needs. It also helps you stay energized all day with no crashes. Not only that, it produces 3 times more brain energy than sugar, which helps boost your memory, focus, and mental sharpness. It also helps reduce stress and helps balance your mood. Rev 7 does all that while being the best tasting energy drink ever. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% today. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7. For a limited time, you get our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. I drink Rev 7 every day and I absolutely love it, and so will you.
Life can be pretty unpredictable, filled with good days and not so good days. And sometimes, the only difference between the two is your level of preparedness. The Jace case lets you be better prepared for whatever comes your way. It contains antibiotics and other prescription medications so that you aren't caught unprepared. With a Jace case, you are able to get your prescription medication before the unpredictable happens, allowing you to turn those not so good days into great ones. Go to jace.com now and get your own Jace case.
All right, guys, thank you for staying with us. And again, the best way to support our program and all the programs on X American News is by supporting our sponsors. And right now is the time to get prepared as we're entering riot season. I'd like to strongly encourage you guys to go to jace.com or jacemedical.com. Pick yourself up a Jace case. Again, this is one of those things that it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And with what I think is planned for our immediate future, I would definitely want to have something like this on hand. a way for your family to have prescription medications, multiple antibiotics, non-narcotic pain relievers, steroids, other medications available normally only by prescription, to have these on hand in case you or your family need them. We've got concerns with our drug supply from China because the new manufacturing of antibiotics and other essential medications has not been fully moved back to the U.S. yet. And again, right now, I would strongly recommend having something like this on hand. Jace does have other cases available too. If you have specific medical problems, whether that's urinary tract infections, if you're concerned about parasites, if you need a similar kit, but the dosage levels are tuned down for children. They have a variety of options available on their website, jace.com, jacemedical.com. Use code INSURRECTION for an additional discount, and you'll still be able to have access to any other specials that they happen to be running at the time. And again, with what's going on in the world right now, I would strongly recommend picking up a Jace case, having one on hand, because you don't know when help may not be on the way. All right, guys. Well, the fun never stops. So let's just jump right back into it, because Democrat leaders blame Trump for escalation as anti-ICE rioters destroy L.A. We already kind of touched on this, but that's the narrative. If Trump hadn't sent the Gestapo into L.A. to round up innocent families, then none of this would have ever happened. Again, it's total BS. And again, they care more about illegal alien invaders than they do all the harm and all the destruction that's caused by these people to our own citizens.
Yeah. And it's a sad commentary. Mike, the Democrat Party used to be a pro-America party. I mean, back in the day, it used to be one where, our country was supported, our flag was supported, our military was supported.
Yeah.
The American people were supported, but they have really turned into a party that is against American values, against the common American citizen. They support criminals and illegals. It's a party of open borders and, unfettered government growth. So they have really turned far left. I mean, gone are the days of JFK and Harry Truman and even Bill Clinton. I mean, listen to what Bill Clinton said in the 1990s. He was hardcore on cracking down on illegal immigration.
Yeah.
And even Hillary Clinton, I saw a clip of her the other day from the 2008 presidential campaign. She was talking about English as the official language and sending people back that were here illegally and shutting down the border. And all of this has changed since 2008. These Democrats have just gone full communist. And thus we've got the contrast that we have between America First and the open borders crowd.
Yeah. Well, like you said, you can go back in time, and the Democrats used to understand that illegal alien invaders lower wages. It harms all their constituents and unions. Even Cesar Chavez was pushing illegal aliens out of the country in California when he was trying to unionize farm workers in the 60s and 70s. This was a fact, a reality. Everybody agreed on this. But you're right. Like, the Democrats used to have some level of common sense, even if that was just coming together when we really needed them to, because there was some kind of a crisis. Whether you want to talk about them, getting behind Reagan during Grenada to go rescue college students or whatever. But when it came to protecting America, they were still on board. But something changed. Something broke. And I think this goes back to intersectionality. They made the bet that they're going to get more votes from illegal aliens and Hispanics that are already here in the U.S. that they can dangle this carrot out in front of them and bring more of them to the polls than they can with union workers and other things, especially as they were killing off our manufacturing industry and sending all our jobs overseas. I guess the unions became less important to the Democrats.
I think a lot of it all started during Barack Obama's administration, and I think it just became progressively more and more left-wing. And then, during the Biden years, it was just out of control.
Yeah,
because Biden was being controlled by leftists within his administration, and I don't think he really had an idea of everything that was going on. I mean, I think he was sort of a puppet, and thus they really went even further to the left. So now we've got to course correct. Now we've got to deal with what has been led into this country, and the left is refusing to allow this administration to follow through on the agenda that we voted for. They're doing it through all these riots, try to stop ICE from doing their job. And they're doing it through all these lawsuits to try to prevent the administration from pursuing the agenda that the American people voted for. 77 plus million electoral vote landslide, every swing state, the popular vote victory. This is what we wanted. And they're trying to say, no, you can't have what you voted for.
Yeah, the Democrat Party is at war with the American people. There's no denying it now. They are even worse than a foreign invader. And let me go ahead and bring this up, and I'll just run this video in the background. Mass looting begins in Los Angeles. Gas stations, Adidas, Nike, T-Mobile hit. We got some video here, too, of them robbing, I think it's a sushi restaurant. I loaded the wrong video here. Okay, here we go. Let me get this up for you guys here real quick. We'll just run this in the background while we continue to discuss this. This is video from the riots over the last few days where they're not out there protesting. Once the sun goes down, they're breaking into electronic stores. They're looting Apple. They're looting Nike. We got some videos here. I think this is the one. There's a guy looting a store in a wheelchair with a Mexican flag on the back of it. I mean, the optics are just awful, but our media, again, is pretending reality is not reality, and these are mostly peaceful protesters with a few bad actors in there.
I love watching CNN where you have this reporter in front of a burning car, burning building, saying, yes, it's a mostly peaceful protest here. And I mean, do you believe the reporter or do you believe, what your eyes are showing you? I mean, come on, they're so transparent in what they're trying to do. Make all this seem like it's nothing. Put all the blame on Donald Trump for, stirring up peaceful protesters. These are radicals. These are criminals. These are people that are destroying these businesses. And what really irks me is what about these business owners? They've now lost their business and their building has been burned down. I mean, they never talk about these folks. These are small business people that have been harmed by this collateral damage. Yeah. And it's just a shame that this, is going to be happening. And I predict it's going to happen in other cities as we're looking ahead over the next few days, Mike.
Yeah. Well, I know in Minnesota during the original Summer of Love riots that 50% or over 50%, just over 50% of the small businesses that were destroyed in the riots never reopened. Because a lot of times, even if you have insurance, if it's considered a riot or something like that, it won't cover the damage or it won't cover all of it. There were a lot of people that had, $200,000, for example, let's say, of insurance on their small business, with fire and other things like that, but it wasn't nearly enough to cover all the damage and loss of business and everything else. So they're forced to just throw in the towel and then go back to work or go to work for Walmart or whoever else because the city's been destroyed and there's not enough money to rebuild. Now, let's also not forget that a lot of times when these areas are destroyed, they don't bounce back. Then they have continued economic decline. Poverty comes in. The area is just trashed. Nobody rebuilds and it becomes a blight to the city.
Well, who would want to, reopen a business in Minneapolis?
Exactly.
The kind of leadership you have in Minneapolis. And as you say, it's just permanent blight now. And a lot of these areas in LA are probably the same thing. I mean, LA's had the Civic Palisades fire where you had the vast majority, 6,800 structures that were burned, and they've only approved 68 permits to rebuild. So, I mean, you have all that devastation. Now you've got this devastation. Which is occurring. And again, I point to the leadership there in these states. These are leaders that are allowing this, encouraging this to happen. And sadly, elections have consequences. When voters elect people like that, you're going to get these horrible results.
Yeah, exactly. And, that's why Trump's sending in another 2,000 National Guard to L.A. They should be arriving at some point today. Tell you what we really need are some freaking roof Koreans. We need the roof Koreans back. They were able to hold their own in the L.A. riots in the 90s. But yeah, this is going nationwide. This coming, I think it's Saturday, the 14th. Things are going to get bad. It's going to really get nasty if we have major riots like this across the country. Because what they're trying to do is just like the Summer of Love, they want to hold the whole country hostage so that you're too afraid to go out and vote in 2026. That they're literally putting a gun to people's head saying, if you vote for more of this, if you vote for more of your agenda, of Trump's agenda, if you vote to put America first, we're going to burn it all down. And that's exactly the message they're sending right now.
So here's the question. Are the criminals going to win? Are the illegals going to win? Are the law-breaking Democrats going to win? Or are the law-abiding, tax-paying, patriotic Americans the Make America Great Again movement, are we going to win?
Yeah.
And, it's all on the line in the 2026 midterm, because if the Democrats take control, guess what, Mike? We're going to have another impeachment.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have nonstop investigations. We're going to have the end of the Trump agenda. So these Republicans in Congress better get moving. And we need to start enacting as much of this agenda as we can enact before these midterm elections, because historically, the party out of power, this is just how it works politically in this country. The party out of power gains about 24 seats in the Congress, in the House. They gain seats in the Senate. So that would be enough, theoretically, to turn over control of the Congress to the Democrats, which would be a horror show for our country.
Yeah. Well, I do think that the odds of us seeing that are pretty slim with how out of step with the American people the Democrat Party is now. But that also means we need to maintain control of the situation. We have to continue to push back against the narrative.
But Mike, have we gotten election integrity under control? I mean, your great sponsor, Michael Lindell, I mean, the work that he's done, have we implemented all the reforms that he's advocated? I mean, do we have free and fair, secure elections? I mean, I worry about that.
Yeah, and I do think that's something that, again, we need to get the House and the Senate to push the SAFE Act through. I think they need to do away with the filibuster in the Senate, because we can ram through this legislation and actually protect our elections. Not to mention accomplish all the other things that Trump's trying to do. If all of a sudden the 60-vote majority is unnecessary, or we just go back to where they actually have to stand there and speak for, ever if they want to prevent a vote. Otherwise, once they pass out there on the floor, we can proceed with the vote.
Cory Booker's ready for another one. He thinks that's going to land him in the White House. He's got a book deal, the longest filibuster ever, Spartacus.
Yeah.
He'll throw his hat in the ring for the 2028 race, probably.
Yeah, he's got his Depends and his amphetamines ready, so he can stand there for a week straight in his soiled diaper and continue to preach to everyone. Yeah, well, I want to see it. Put that on TV primetime. He'll just look like a raving lunatic by the end. I know the media will hold him up as a hero, but again, I think their influence is largely it's been so undermined by their coverage. They don't have an audience anymore. I think the normies are onto it, that propping up, whether it's the rioters or Cory Booker or whoever else, people just aren't buying it anymore. And I think with everything else that's coming our way in 2026, the Republicans' chances are good, but it isn't because they've done well. It's because of Donald Trump that we're going to have this $12.5 trillion in new investment hitting over this next year. And right about the time people are starting to pay attention, summer before the 2026 election, its wages will be so far up. There's going to be so many jobs, and our country is going to be in such a better position economically that I think the Democrats have little to no chance of regaining power.
The only way they could do it is to steal, and the Democrats are certainly good at doing that. So that's what I worry about. I don't worry about them winning an election fair and square. I worry about them stealing the midterm elections. So that's my concern, and we need to do something about elections between now and the midterm. But that's why we got to pass the big beautiful bill.
Yeah,
make it better, make it more beautiful, add some more cuts to it, start following through on the DOJ recommendations. But we need those tax cuts to be renewed. We can't have a massive tax increase on the American people. And I think if this bill passes, there are a lot of good features in it. We'll be in good shape economically for the midterms, and that'll help.
Yeah, I think that needs to get through, and we need to ram the SAFE Act through somehow for election integrity. We've got to figure out a way to get that across the finish line, and then we can start worrying about a lot of the other issues, solidifying the DOJ cuts, making those permanent, making DOJ a permanent agency so that we constantly have a watchdog in there. I think that's all things that need to happen. Well, I got an update on another story. Waymo stops service of self-driving taxis in downtown LA over anti-ICE riots. So, I mean, we touched on this yesterday, but I found more information about this right after the show. So the 5 Waymo cars, people called those for taxi rides and then set them on fire. Well, I guess we're lucky they didn't set them on fire and then send it out on its way. So you had a mobile car setting fires as it travels through LA, or just explodes somewhere from the electric batteries. But Those
that's why we need human drivers. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why we need not to have these, self-driving vehicles, because they drive themselves into a riot and then they get burned. I mean, if they had a driver, that wouldn't have happened. So there you go.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, these 5 cars, it cost them, they haven't disclosed the full amount yet, but it was over $1 million in property damage for these 5 cars. And I believe it. I mean, the cars themselves were probably at $60,000, $70,000 because a lot of them are like mid-grade Teslas. And then plus you have all the electronics for the self-driving portion of it. So yeah, these things are like 200 to 250,000 a piece. So 1 to 1.25 million in property damage just for Waymo. So yeah, abandoning LA, but probably a good move on their part.
Right. Yeah, I'm old fashioned. I don't like getting in a vehicle without a driver. Okay.
No.
I would not feel comfortable in a Waymo. Not at all.
No, ever since I saw that video, and I don't know if you've seen this or not, again, I wish I could pull it up right now, but of the poor guy where he had the Waymo drive him to the airport in San Francisco, and then the robot just loses its mind and starts driving around in circles in the parking lot and won't let him out. And he's on the phone with like customer service for like 45 minutes before they finally shut the robot down. And by then, I'm sure he's missed his flight.
Right. Yeah, I don't want to take that chance. All right, I'm not going to be doing that. I don't want to cede control to robots as far as anything goes. Count me as being a little worried about AI, robots, self-driving cars. I guess I'm old-fashioned, Mike.
Yeah, I've seen the Terminator. I know what happens next. I'm no fan of Skynet.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. The first 2 are great movies. The rest of them are a little more questionable. All right, guys, we got to take one more quick break here from our sponsor, and we'll be right back with more.
Well, hello, everybody. It's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you got to do is go to lutfstudio.com. But I'm sure for this, I hope I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.
Thank you for staying with us. And again, the best way to support our program and all the programs on X American News by supporting our sponsors. You can do that by going to lutfstudio.com, buy yourself a unique, one-of-a-kind, handmade piece of art from Annie Cyrus. She does a ton of work behind I cannot talk all of a sudden. Behind the scenes here to make a lot of the shows on X American News possible. I also want to encourage you guys to go check out her Substack. There are some fantastic articles up there. She's putting up a few a week now. And again, she does a ton of work behind the scenes to make all this possible. And you'll have a unique, one-of-a-kind, handmade piece of art if you go to lutfstudio.com. Well, we got an update, too. Looks like there is word out now that additional Marines may be getting deployed out to LA2 from 29 Palms. But let's just jump right back into it, because I do want to get through this. We got a couple other things to discuss. So Brian Stelter warns viewers not to trust the videos of unrest emerging from LA riots. Could give false impressions. Yeah, don't believe your lying eyes. Just believe the narrative that these are fiery but mostly peaceful protesters. It's just a few bad apples out there that do billions of dollars in damage to LA.
Brian Stelter is a joke. I mean, I thought he got fired. When bringing back as an analyst. I mean, it shows you how desperate CNN is. I mean, they do have one good guy that I like on there, Scott Jennings.
Yes.
Other than him, you can just write them all off. But yeah, I mean, believe Brian Stelter. Don't believe the video.
Don't do your own research
of the burning cars, the Mexican flags, the chaos. It's not going to work, Brian. People are not going to fall for the false narrative. As you said earlier, Mike, people are awake. They're leaving these horrible networks in droves. I wrote a column recently about Terry Moran and the bias at ABC. I mean, we've got people that are finally, seeing these networks for what they are, finding alternative news sources, and that's a really good thing.
Well, Jeff, I just want to say, right now, if you believe all that, you're just promoting a right-wing narrative and disparaging these poor people that just want to be here and make a better life for themselves. In fact, there's probably some connection somewhere to racist white supremacists if you believe any of this propaganda. Well, the new fiery but mostly peaceful just dropped. Local KABC anchor calls LA rioters people having fun watching cars burn. Unbelievable. But yes, this is the fractured reality we live in. This is what happens when you let people with mental illness run the media.
And it goes to show you that a lot of the local media now have been overtaken by leftists.
Yeah.
It used to be where the local media, you could trust them. They were more reliable, more middle, down the road. But now you've got leftists that have infiltrated a lot of these local stations, and the local ratings are down. People don't watch the local news like they used to. They don't watch the evening news like they used to. They don't watch these networks like CNN and MSNBC like they used to. I mean, because of the kind of bias that we see, they're not reading the New York Times like they used to. We have a local rag here called The Advocate. I mean, the Sunday edition used to be super thick. I mean, now it's like super thin because, people aren't reading it.
Yeah.
People have gotten disgusted with the bias, Mike.
Yeah, and again, this is why I'm not as concerned about 2026, because so many people have woken up from this narrative, especially after this last election. We've said it ad nauseum on here, that the viewership on these mainstream dinosaur media companies is just in absolute free fall. 40 to 60% ratings drops for most of them, up to 90% for Jeff Bezos's Washington Post. This is the end result. More people are waking up to this nonsense, this mockingbird media. But at the end of the day, there's still things that we need on the right. It's good that we have alternatives now, but we really need real newsrooms. We need some other things. There's some people working on some stuff like that in the background. But if we want to be a real replacement, there do need to be some changes. And I think Trump bringing all these people into the White House press pool has been a great boon to that. That's really going to help get America back on track. I want to go ahead and pull this, though, too, because we've touched on this about a dozen times now. Radical leftist organizations planning nationwide No Kings protest against President Trump and deportations on June 14th. And actually, it's gone international now. They're going to have sympathy protests in foreign countries as well, where they also won't be waving the American flag.
That's No Kings. We're talking about a president who every move he makes, he gets sued. And every move he makes, he's got to defend in court. And every time you turn around, a judge is telling him he can't do something that he was elected to do. No Kings. No. That's somebody that gets dictatorial rule, can do whatever he wants, doesn't have to worry about anything else. Here, this president is constantly being checked by leftists. Biden only had, I think, 15 nationwide injunctions issued against him. This president is going to have multiple times that many before the end of the year. Yeah. So, I mean, Biden was the guy who got away with all of the nonsense without really being checked by anybody. So Biden and his advisors, I mean, his puppet masters, whoever the auto pen gang, whoever they were. So, this president is certainly not a king. He's certainly trying to just follow through on what he promised. And they're trying to stop him every step he makes, Mike. It's
sick. Yeah, well, you're right. We have judicial tyranny going on right now. And Trump has already accumulated more injunctions from Superior Court justices, or judges, than all previous presidents combined. All of them. It makes no sense that this is allowed to continue. It should have been stopped in the 1960s when we had a lower court judge do a nationwide injunction for the first time. But it's a mistake that's never been corrected, and now they're leveraging it, and that's why we need the Supreme Court to actually step in and do something about this.
Will the Supreme Court finally act? I mean,
no.
They're so hesitant, they're so weak, they're so middle of the road, except for Alito and Thomas and usually Gorsuch. But I mean, they should have acted on this a long time ago, and I've been very disappointed, Mike, in the Supreme Court.
Well, they're not going to act. I think they'll continue to do issue by issue. Because, again, like most of these cases Trump is bringing to the Supreme Court, he's getting victories on because the law is the law. It's blatantly obvious. Again, if we had a remotely honest media, most of the country would already know this. But instead, they're pretending this is the normal legal path for things like this to happen. And it isn't. But, again, that's one of the problems why this cancer in our media needs to be cured. So, yeah, I got a great video for you guys here. CNN data analyst says Trump's approval rating on immigration has gone up like a rocket. And, of course, it has. Because, again, normal people sitting at home don't want to see buildings burning while people wave the Mexican flag and destroy Los Angeles. That's not what normal people cheer for. Only their friends in the media and these devoted blue-haired moonbats.
You know, if we just take a look at the baseline numbers here, this is Trump's net approval rating on immigration. It's gone up like a rocket. Compare now versus 8 years ago during Trump's first term. Look at this. In his first term, Trump was way, way, way underwater at minus 21 points. But look at this. He's up over 20 points. Now, in the aggregate, he is in positive territory at plus 1 point on his net approval rating. Some other polls even have it a little bit higher than that. There is no issue on which Trump is doing so much better than he was in his first term, more than the issue of immigration. No wonder the Times has written up the way that he is. Trump is begging for a fight on this because he knows what he's doing so far is working with the American electorate.
Where does immigration rank on issues for him? How is he doing compared to others?
Yeah, so I think what's so important is it is his top issue so far. And the reason it is his top issue is because take a look at the individual nuggets in here. Why are people approving of Trump on immigration, approve of these different immigration actions? Well, Trump's administration's program to deport those here illegally. Look at this, 54% approval. How about agents searching your hometown for those that they think are here illegally? Again, positive territory here, above 50% for Donald Trump. So it's not just on the broad issue of immigration where Trump is doing well. It's on the specifics. When you dive into the issues, Trump is above 50% and his actions are above 50%, at least with those.
All right, that's enough of Harry Enton. I wonder how many people that sent under their desks to cry or to crawl into a whiskey bottle.
I like that guy because he's always delivering the bad news to the viewers on CNN about how popular Trump is and how much he's improved since he was president 8 years ago. So he delivers the news. He's fair. He's someone, again, on CNN who's worth watching. They're not many, but he's a good one.
Oh, yeah. Harry Enton, I think he just doesn't want to become the next 538 that was originally, hailed for their accuracy and then became a little more than a political tool to be utilized primarily to manipulate American voters. But yeah, Harry Enton seems to be honest. Maybe they just need to give him and Scott Jennings a show together, and they can just call it the cry hour. But yeah, again, like this is obvious to most of us. But I don't get it. Like the media is just so out of step with where the American people are, and there appears to be zero effort for any type of realignment. I guess they're fine just shoveling millions and millions of dollars into a blast furnace while all these dinosaur legacy media networks continue to collapse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and let them continue to collapse. I'd love to see a few of them go out of business. I think the Washington Post and New York Times are on life support. Obviously the CNN and MSNBC, their ratings are horrible. Newsmax, I think, has overtaken them in a lot of the rating books that I've looked at. So, I mean, they've fallen tremendously. Yeah, and it'll keep happening. The American people, I think, are not going back. They're going to continue to search out other news sources, programs such as yours, programs such as mine. What alternative media is doing is here to stay. It's never going back, Mike.
Yeah, and again, like, not to toot my own horn here, but it's pretty sad when our program here on X American News has more live viewers watching us right now than are watching CNN. And I'm not exaggerating. Their hour right now on CNN only pulls in 40 to 45,000 people. It's pathetic. And, and again, let's keep in mind, most of those are coma patients that can't change the channel and people trapped in airports.
Well, I think the post offices and the airports, they still force people to watch this nonsense, don't they? I mean, I think they have a contract with them, and you don't have any choice. I mean, there's no remote control. You can't turn it. It's just on that channel.
Exactly.
So, that's called cruel and unusual punishment, Mike.
Exactly. We really need to send somebody in, Christy Nome, or once we're done solving the other problems, we need to send somebody from the DOJ out there to sort this out. We'll get Pam Bondi on it. Maybe it'll also help with our nation's mental health. So this is brilliant, but watch, this is going to be the set off for the next round of ICE protests. They're going to say that this is the reason. DHS arrests illegal immigrants after asylum bids fail in court. So they're now staging agents across the country. If somebody has an appearance between an immigration judge, one of these illegal invaders from the last 4 years, they're now staging ICE agents with their picture. So as soon as the judge shoots down their asylum claim, they can pick them up and then escort them out of the country. This is absolutely brilliant. But watch. This is going to be something that's cited as to why we're seeing nationwide riots coming on the 14th.
Yeah, they're looking for any excuse they can to riot. Again, this is just using the system to the advantage of the American people. Again, these are people that are here illegally, and they're gaming the system. They need to be removed. Now, the figures I looked at, Mike, show that like 1,600 per day were being removed by ICE. They were trying to double that to over 3,000. And if you do that every day, then you're still looking at less than 1.5 million. Dwight D. Eisenhower, in his effort to remove illegals, got 1.5 million out of the country. And we have tens of millions more illegals than he had back in his day. But he didn't have to deal with the left-wing media. He didn't have to deal with the left-wing judges. He didn't have to deal with Antifa and the activists. Yeah. These are all roadblocks we've got to surmount in this era that he didn't have back then.
Yeah, and I do think, that their approach right now is, I'd like to see 30,000 deportations a day, not 3,000, but I do think they're on the right path. I think moving the violent criminal illegal aliens out, prioritizing them, getting rid of them first, then turning their attention to military-age men. But the biggest thing is going to be disincentivizing people to stay here illegally, cut off all welfare benefits, make it a crime for the state to continue paying welfare benefits out of any kind to non-citizens. I think that's what we're really going to have to see. And then actual enforcement with employers. We need to make E-Verify mandatory and start finding employers, or really what we need to do is put them out of business. If they're hiring illegal aliens, we need to find them out of business, put the owners in jail. And I'm not talking like one person that snuck under the radar and got in with fake Social Security cards, but it's something that an employer is doing en masse, that they are hiring illegals, because again, we know it depresses wages. We talked about numerous times up here in Springfield, Ohio, up the road from me, that they're using staffing companies to launder these employees to large employers in the area, and they're paying them about 25% less than they pay American workers doing the exact same job.
Yeah, so American workers are getting the short end of the stick here as far as wages, as far as job opportunities. We had a job site here in the New Orleans area a few weeks ago where you had ICE show up, and there was video of it. When ICE showed up, I mean, it's like every employee just started running. So that goes to show you that these job sites are being filled with illegals. So these employers, they know that they're hiring illegals. So not only do we need to remove the illegal workers, as you say, we need to penalize these employers that are doing this. They know what they're doing. I mean, they're trying to save money. They're trying to hire these illegals to cut costs. But, that's against the law. Okay, they can't do that. And we got to start really sanctioning them and cracking down on this. I think that would be a great way to start getting these illegals out of the country.
Yeah, there's so many easy victories like that we really need to start pushing for to get things back on track. Well, let's shift gears a little bit. Microsoft pulls major tech conference from Seattle over crime, drug use, and homelessness. Yeah, who would have thought that when your city smells like human feces and you've got to step over drug-addled homeless people and syringes on the street, that they don't want to have a multi-million-dollar conference and fly people in from around the world? Who would have thought that was the case?
And again, that's another left-wing city being run into the ground. Once beautiful city, just like we could say San Francisco and Chicago and so many of these cities, LA, once, tourist attractions and great destinations, now turned into hellholes. And that's what these progressives do. I mean, they destroy these cities and they start catering to the lawbreakers.
Yeah.
So maybe Seattle, that'll be a wake-up call for Seattle, and good for Microsoft to say, hey, we're not going to subject our visitors to this kind of disaster.
Yeah. And it really is a shame. I used to work for a company that was out of Tacoma, Washington. They'd fly us out there about every year. And, the place was beautiful. I mean, it was full of, moon bats, even at the time. But they just gradually made more and more bad decisions. They put in these shooting galleries for people to use drugs in with nurses at them, thinking that would somehow improve the problem, not just attract more drug addicts, drug dealers, and more crime to the area. Whoops. They've given homeless people all these rights to overtake or take possession of abandoned buildings or even areas. There was a story where they were tunneling under the highway and almost caused a highway collapse because the homeless people are basically building a cave to go live in to avoid all the rain in Seattle. I mean, there was a guy that was a fill-in host used to be a fill-in host for Rush Limbaugh out of Seattle. Just had these horrifying stories talking about going to his kids' soccer games on the weekend, where the parents would all have to put on steel-toed boots and walk through the field first, with their arms linked together to pick up all the syringes on the soccer field before the kids could play ball because they didn't want them to get a fentanyl dose shot through their foot.
Yeah. And, you could probably say that that's the situation in a lot of our great American cities, our once great American cities. And what I wonder is, voters in these cities, they see how their areas have been destroyed by these policies. Why do they keep voting for it? I mean,
fear.
Like here in New Orleans, I mean, we haven't had a Republican mayor since 1872. And you've had 153 years of Democrat leadership. And, the economy's bad and the streets are bad and the crime is high. And they keep electing, these same leaders with the same failed philosophy time and time again. It's just insanity to me that they keep doing it. They do.
Well, I think it's that trifecta of fear, corruption, and mental illness that perpetuates Democrat rule. That, part of it is fear. Part of it is, that default Democrat person in the city that they still think, oh, you're just an evil racist. You're backwards. You're going to vote for Republicans. And they're afraid to do anything because they also know if they do change their political party, they're going to be abandoned by their friends and neighbors. If, I've mentioned this on our program again a couple times. I have a couple neighbors on my street that were lifelong Democrats that flipped their vote due to in the last election, since Biden was brain dead and they were afraid of Kamala Harris. Now, one of them, I think, will stay in the Republican camp. The other ones I'm not so sure about. That I think Biden and Kamala were just so bad. But once they left, they have friends and family now refusing to talk to them. I have another neighbor, same way. That black dude was in the Navy for 20 years, thought Hillary Clinton was evil, so he voted for Trump, and half his family abandoned him. They won't talk to him anymore because of that. So, but I think we are starting to get past at least that mentality. Jeff, what's the best place for our audience to find you?
Well, Mike, thanks for having me. I'd love for people to check out crewere.net, CROUERE.net, and you have links to my social media, columns, shows, and everything that I've got going on. So I'd love for people to check it out.
Absolutely. You guys should also follow Jeff over on Twitter, X, whatever they're calling themselves now. Thank you again for joining, Jeff, and thank you to our audience. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news.